Hello, welcome. I'm so excited for my next guest on Rebel Radio, the Miss Shawna. I'm so excited that you're here. My dear friend, my colleague, and my fellow brain gamer. I love you, and I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, Cindy, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here as well. And oh my God, I love you, girl. And this is going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. So let's dive in right away. Like, you know your numerology, you've studied numerology. What has been one of your biggest takeaways from understanding what that is?
For me with numerology, like for myself, my own number was understanding. It really helped me understand who I was at a deeper level and giving myself permission to be me. And because I'm a 3, and part of the 3 is abundance amplification. There's also expression, creativity, all this stuff. And when I looked at my number and then how it's all plotted and you brought it all together, I could see where over the years people were trying to cage me, and I just needed to just do my thing, because I was all about amplifying and going out there and creating, where everybody was trying to put me into a little box. So for me, that was the biggest part about numerology, was learning who I was and how I was able to go, okay, I am very hard on myself, and I'm also hard on others. That had really impacted me the most, understanding those little intricate parts of me, because then when I would have conversations or I was dealing with other people, I was able to think about that and go, okay, wait a minute.
Right.
I can give them a break and me a break.
Yeah, I love that. And I think almost every time that I talk to people about numerology, that word permission comes out. It's like a permission slip to be yourself. Yeah, I love that so much.
Exactly, because you learn so much, and it's like, oh, okay, I thought, there's little things about yourself that you kind of know is there, but you're not so sure. But then we actually find out that, yeah, this is actually who I am. Like, that's pretty cool.
Right? So good. So good. So this show is all about self-mastery and wealth for entrepreneurs. And self-mastery is this word that kind of gets tossed around, but we have a lot of different meanings for it. So I'm curious what self-mastery means to you.
I love that you're asking this, because for me, self-mastery, it means everything.
Yeah.
It really means everything, and it means everything in my life. It's who I am to my core. Self-mastery is loving myself. And it's like learning all the stuff and coming home. And self-mastery is not living in fear. And
yes.
knowing that, you get to choose. Every day you get to choose who you want to be, your thoughts, your actions. It's like letting go of the past, living in the present, and not worrying about the future, and creating the future from a place of love, and really just coming into that place of love. That was a big one for me. So now I look at that, because I have on my bathroom, when I come out of my shower every day, on my wall, I put it there, I don't know, about 8 years ago. And it's like, live every moment, laugh every day, love beyond words. And I was in such an ugly place in my life then, that I would look at these words, and those words would get me through the day. It wasn't until the self-mastery where it was like, live every moment part really made sense.
Yeah. I love that. And you've taken the brain game and you teach the brain game. So you live this stuff on a daily basis, which I love so much. I mean, I'm passionate about making the brain game a household verb. That's really what I'm focused on. And so, every time I get together with somebody who teaches the brain game, I'm really excited. So yeah, I love it.
It makes me giddy.
Right? I know. Every time I teach it, I learn something more. I go to a deeper level. Taking the brain game alone changed my life, but teaching it changed it even more. So good.
Yeah. It does, and it really does need everybody in the entire planet needs to take the brain game. Like, seriously, let's just get real here.
Yes.
I'm just saying. And
I'm on it.
Exactly. I know. Thank you. And I love it. And that's part of my core program. It is the brain game. That's part of it, because it's like I won't, you have to take that part. And when you start to talk about it, because it's like, if you want to have a healthy life or a happy life or whatever life you want to live, it's like there's just so much stuff, there's so much inner work to do that you need the guidance to go through it. And when you look at the transformation that you have from it, where you actually can dive into, oh my God, just letting go of all that past stuff and the forgiveness work and all the anger and the shame and the guilt and the blame. Like I lived years in a toxic environment at work where I was blaming everybody else for my life. Mm-hmm. I wasn't happy. And to get to that place of forgiveness and love and being able to move forward and saying, thank you for showing me that I was meant to do something else. And it's so powerful that you wake up every day living it. And that's what I love about teaching it, because as you're teaching our clients and our students, it's like you start to see their transformation, how they're starting to live it. And they're like, this is everyday life. I'm like, exactly.
Yes, so good. I know it's been such a transformation for me. I went from angry and miserable and drinking so much and just always constantly waking up in a bad mood and blaming everything on the world around me, right? None of it was my fault.
No, that's exactly it. And that's the part that is the most difficult, is the self-responsibility.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, when you go through that and you go through some of the work and you're working with some people, they're like, okay, this isn't, I had one lady say to me, she goes, okay, this isn't what I expected. Like this is some deep shit. Mm-hmm. She's like, I have to take responsibility.
Time to pull up your big girl panties.
And I said, that the moment I took responsibility was huge.
Yeah, that's huge. The moment.
That is such a huge part of it. Like there's little transformations along the way to the big transformation, those aha moments. But for me, that was it. Would change my life, because I think it was literally 3 months after I started down this road of self-mastery and the brain game, I literally left my job. Mm-hmm. I mean, all about threes. It was 3 months after I started on my self-development and down this road that I was just like, I couldn't go back.
Yeah. So good. So good. So tell us a little bit, you left your job. So what do you do now?
So I left my job. I started on this amazing personal transformation journey, and I fell in love with the coaching industry. So through all of this and working with coaches, some of the same coaches like Cindy, Joy Kingsborough's been a huge impact in my life, and working through all the stuff myself, that I fell in love with the coaching industry, and I wanted to become a coach myself, because I wanted to make a huge impact. And like you, the brain game was a big part of it, the self-mastery and everything. And then as I was diving into bringing that into my business and building my business, then all of a sudden my 25 years of sales and marketing came out, and people were starting to ask me about sales. So then I now have brought in the sales and have created my program, Sexy Sales Goddess. Mm-hmm. And that's a transformation. Like the brain game's a big part of that, because when you look at, for me, when I look at success in sales, so many people have taken so many courses and then they wonder why they don't work. And it's like, it's not necessarily that the course didn't work. It's where you are.
Absolutely.
And it is the brain game part that then gets you to the point of who you are, knowing who you are, what you want, why you want it. We talked about core desire feelings, like all the things to get to this point where it's like, okay, now let's talk about sales. Yes. Because you're aligned with who you are and what you want. And then my part of my sales part, I call it the aligned selling method, because it's all about being aligned with who you are. So it goes hand in hand.
Yes, absolutely. Sales. I mean, you can take a sales course, but if you don't know who you are in that, it's really hard to sell. And if you're an entrepreneur, you got to sell, because if you're not bringing in revenue, you got a hobby, not a business.
Yes, exactly. And I love that you said that, because that's what I've been saying lately. Are you running a hobby or a business? And for me, I help heart-centered female entrepreneurs. I help them go through the process. So my tagline is, I help female entrepreneurs move from fear and doubt, so that you can sell confidently, as have it feel as easy as having a conversation. So for me, I make it all about having conversations. It's not selling, it's serving.
Yes. Oh,
And
I love that definition. It's not selling, it's serving.
serving. And that's my motto. I go by that. I bring in the numerology part so they meet the woman they were born to be. You know, it helps with the confidence piece, and we bring that throughout it as well, because it's so important to know who you are, right? To be successful and to stand in your power and to take your power back and to build the business and create the business you want and have those conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Which leads me to my next question, because we're talking about money. Wealth is this word that seems to be really undefined as wealth. Undefined as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what wealth means to you.
For me, when I think of wealth, it's so many things. Like, it brings happy feelings, it brings joy. It also brings, for me, it's like freedom, it's impact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when I look at it that way, the freedom and the impact, it's from an aspect of the more people I can serve and help.
Yes.
And the greater impact I can have, the more like philanthropy and, you know, and things like that. That's when I look at wealth. I kind of bring so much into it, because it's more than just money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reading a book the other day that really struck it home for me about how important it is that money is in the hands of people who care. Is that we're doing ourselves a disservice by not trying to be wealthy. Yeah. And I think it's so important that, I mean, money runs the world. And so if more people who have money are doing good things with their money, then we can start to change the world. So yeah. Love this conversation.
It comes to that too. And it comes back to, it's like money is serving too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's like, by holding on to your money, it's like you put yourself in suffering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, when you're flowing it out there and you're helping, and you have, from the brain game too, right? When you have the right frequency behind it, it's like the impact is beautiful and amazing.
Yeah. And it's something as simple as, you know, paying your internet bill. If you get the bill in the mail and you grump and grind, but I can't talk today. If you're all grumpy about it, like, oh, this stupid bill, now I got to pay this. Or if you come at it from, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I have internet so that I can connect with people in the middle of a global pandemic. I can run Rebel Radio globally. I can do all these things. There's a total different frequency in how you're moving your money out by paying that bill. And it's something as simple as that. And then, of course, doing that on a bigger and bigger scale, the more money you start calling in.
Yeah, exactly. And having fun with it. And it's like a little play date. And I know for me, when the bills come in, and I've done this for a few years, it's like, as soon as the bills come in, I'm like, thank you for the money. And then it's paid, and I put a big happy face. And, you know, and even if it's something as simple, like we have a rental property, and so we used a line of credit to purchase that, the down payment on it. So even when I'm paying the monthly on the line of credit, like, it's not the full amount, but it's a monthly, but I'll pay a little bit, like even $10 over kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And thank you for the money, right? And then I'm like, bless this money going out. And same thing, like our it is the energy. It very much is the energy. And I was telling you earlier, we had a rental property. We had to do a bunch of renos, and I had a certain budget. And we were like double the budget and then some. And so money was flowing. And at first I was like, holy crap. I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. This is getting out of hand. And then I thought, no, this is good. Because then I started thinking about, you know, and we were meeting the contractors, and I'm like, okay, this is supporting their families, and this is supporting, you know, the people who made the paint, and you know, and this and that, and the cleaning people. And the next thing you know, I'm giving people big tips because they did such an amazing job. And I was sitting there, and I was doing the spreadsheet with my husband, and we were watching it all. And I said to him, I go, look at the money flow. And I go, this is beautiful energy. It's bliss. It's flowing out. It's coming in. It's flowing out. And then he's sitting there. He's like, oh, we got the money flowing. I love that. Bernie had a beer and I had a wine, and we were doing it. We were like, look at this money. It's flowing. This is awesome. Look at all these people helping. And we had fun with it.
Yeah. I think that's so important. Even something as simple as grocery shopping, like thinking about where that money and who that money is supporting, is you're helping the people who stock the shelves, who deliver the food, like all of these things. And I think that we don't think about that enough, and we don't give that enough attention. So thank you for bringing that up. I love it. I know. So what is one truth that you wish every entrepreneur knew?
One truth I wish every entrepreneur knew. that they have everything they need within them.
Yes.
You know, I really do. I really wish they knew that, and loved themselves
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more, you know, and that confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, I mean, the self-mastery, the brain game, the numerology, all of those tied together really brings you to that place of being able to love yourself and being able to love yourself in all of your humanness. I mean, you and I are not perfect by any means, but we love ourselves in our mess, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And there's some times where, you know, it can get pretty messy.
Yeah. It's like, just because your brain game doesn't mean shit doesn't still happen. It's how
Yeah.
you respond to the shit that changes.
You know what? That's exactly it. And it's like, if you want to be in that ugly mess, you can choose to be in it. And then it's like, okay, I just want to just lose my shit for a bit here. Just let me have this moment. Right.
And I love and accept myself anyways.
And you have your moment, and it's funny because Bernie again, he's like, you're just having a moment, and he's like, and I'm going, yeah, I'm just gonna lose my shit for a moment, and then I'll be fine. But I want to honor myself in this moment.
Absolutely. I think that's an important distinction too, is that we're not shoving the emotions under the carpet. We're not avoiding the mess. We're diving headfirst into the mess and going, I'm going to have a moment and I'm going to love myself through this moment. And then the moment passes.
Exactly. And
it's when we judge that moment and like, oh no, I can't do that. That's wrong to feel that way. It's wrong to act that way. And that's when we start perpetuating it and creating more.
You know what? I love that you brought that up, because that, oh my God, Cindy, that's it in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. For years, I was pushing it down and I didn't want to feel it. And I didn't want to feel the emotions, right? For years, I was just pushing it. It would start to come. I was like, nope, not feeling this. And then it was like, and then the loop just kept going and going and going until finally it was like, I remember one of the first times, I think it was something with Joy, and she was like, hey, how are you feeling? And I was like, huh? Like, I don't know. Like, what are feelings supposed to feel like? Kind of thing. Feelings? It's like, because you shove that shit, you just shove it down, and then also when you let it come up, it's like, ooh, I don't know about this. But then when you actually let it come up, and I mean, and let the tears come, like just let them free flow. That was a big one for me, because I didn't let the tears come before. Mm-hmm. And now it's just like, I can have the hard, ugly, on the floor cries, bawling my moments out. And it's like, I'm like, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. I am clearing. This is good. And just loving yourself in that moment when you have those little ugly cries and going, okay, this is supposed to happen right now.
Yes. I love that so much. So good. So what's something that you've discovered about yourself on this journey that you'd love to share with our audience? Something that has helped you grow?
Oh my goodness, so much. But what I want to share, it's, you know what? I have to come back to the self-love.
Yeah.
Because I was always confident. I was always strong. I was always, you know, I did my thing and stuff, but I didn't have to self-love. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't know how to love myself.
I think that's such a distinction of not having self-love and not knowing how to self-love. Yeah. So how did you learn how to love yourself?
Well, you know what? I literally I would spend so much time in the morning, and I always give myself a big hug. I love you. I love you. And for me, it was to stop judging myself, you know, how I looked, you know, whatever was going on, and just really spending that time in gratitude and just a lot of time hugging myself and just going, you know, God, Shawna, I just love you so much, you know, and loving that little girl in me, you know, felt like she needed the love as well. And so it was just, that's where I started. It was like, there was a lot of love towards the little girl in me who had these big dreams, and, you know, and then loving the woman I am, and really just spending time with that and having conversations with myself. And going, you know what? That's okay to have these conversations with myself.
Yeah. It's totally normal to talk to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's healthy.
It's healthy. Exactly. We've been told it's not, but it is so healthy. And it's something that I know I've done a lot of work on that as well. And I mean, whether you're journaling or just thinking about it, just it's the giving the time and the
Yeah.
space for it. I'm not much of a journaler. I never have been, but I will sit for an hour and just stare at the wall and just allow those thoughts to come through. And oh, that's interesting that I'm thinking that. I wonder where that came from. I love that thought, but what if there was something else we could think? So
Yeah.
good.
I'm like that too. I'll have my journaling moments, or I'll go on journaling spurts. And
Mhm.
I can just sit like in our sunroom. That's my morning thing where I just sit there for hours and just let it come and just and and have the thoughts where it's like, you know what? I really love that you've got this drive and determination. I love that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. I love that you're doing this. I love that you're doing that. And I have those conversations with myself, and sometimes I write it down. I love this about me. I love that about me. And that's where it came, where I was like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of things I really love about myself.
Right? I love that so much. So good. So, Shawna, I could talk to you for hours. I could have you on the show. Let's just go all day.
I
Thank you for being on the show. And as always, we end Rebel Radio with one last question. What do you dream of for the world?
Oh my goodness. I dream of peace, joy, happiness, and love.
Mhm.
I really do.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.